would like to request you all to please rise for the to everyone present here, our esteemed guest, Mr. Radhesham Madam, teaching and non-teaching staff, and to all the students present here. Today, we all are gathered here to escort our guests for lighting of the lamp.
Shyam Sharma, IRS, Commissioner Central GST and Central Excise. The college extends a very warm welcome to you, sir. Now, I request our Principal Madam to address the gathering.
Chief guest for our today's workshop, Shri Radhesham Sharma ji, Commissioner of Central GST, my teaching faculties, non-teaching staff, and dear students. I extend a very warm and hearty welcome to our distinguished guest who is with us in this morning. Thank you, sir, for being with us, and thank you so very much for accepting our invitation to address our students on this topic today, which we are going to have the discussion. The topic, I feel it's really very, very complex. The today's topic is impact of GST on MSME sectors and the steps taken by the government. I think the GST word itself, we feel it's really a very, I was telling sir, that is very, very complex for us to understand, and he was saying how it is drafted. So I'm sure we are going to have a wonderful discussion with sir, and we all, each one of us going to have take away from this today's workshop. Because GST, we understand only basics of that much also I feel is really difficult. We know only the GST now, that goods and services tax, where we say every service, every purchases, you will have to see the GST, whether it is 5%, whether it is 12%, whether it is 18%, or whether it is 28%. But just now he was telling me the another optional it is that if based on the turnover also you will have to see. So based on the turnover, the amount annually is paid by the MSE sector. So like that, in just 5-minute discussion, I could also learn things about GST, which for me always, it is a very, very complex and difficult to understand the subject it is. So I feel that today sir is going to tell us more in detail about, because sir is going to have a PPT presentation with all of us. So we will have a good learning exercise today in this workshop about this GST and the impact and also the steps taken by the government for this. Because we know only basic things, GST Council, which is in Delhi, where she is that our Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman ji is the head of that council. But sir was also saying there are another bodies which are taking care of the things. So like this, I felt yes, today's discussion, today's workshop will be a great learning experience for each one of us. So looking forward to learn from you today, sir, about this complex issue, and hope, I think after this discussion, after this workshop, we will have which we say it is complex, but after that I think it will be an easy part to understand, because we say the GST is there so that to ease out the business. But actually it is in the society that we need to understand, we need to learn, and I think once we understand the subject, once we understand the concept of that, then it is easy to understand the GST part. So looking forward to hear from you, sir, and again extending a very warm welcome to you and all the wonderful audience who is present over here for this workshop. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Now I request our principal, Madam Dr. Kavita Lalchandani, to felicitate our chief guest, Sri Radhesham Sharma, IRS, Commissioner of Central GST and Central Excise, with a memento and a sapling as a token of appreciation. Thank you, ma'am. Now I request Harsha Makhijani to introduce our chief guest, Mr. Radhesham Sharma, sir.
Thank you so much, Meghna ma'am. I am greatly privileged to introduce our resource person for today, Mr. Radhesham Sharma. Sir is presently working as the Commissioner of Central GST, and he is IRS of 2002 batch of Indian Customs and Central Excise Service. And sir is also a postgraduate from Physics Department of Physics and Astrophysics from Delhi University. Sir has graduated in law from Delhi University as well. And sir has also served in different capacities, from Assistant Commissioner to Additional Commissioner at Aurangabad, Mumbai Customs Zone, Service Tax, Mumbai, Central Excise, Mumbai, DGCE, Mumbai, DG Systems and Data Management, Mumbai, GST and CEX, Mumbai, and various other departments. And sir is presently working as a Commissioner of GST and Custom Excise and Audit Department of Mumbai. Sir is also a keen reader, golf player, loves adventure sports like mountaineering, sailing, road driving, and traveling. He has represented Central Revenue Sports and Cultural Board in golf and won runner-up trophy at Chandigarh in 2019. Recently, he also won runner-up medal as a at a corporate golf event. He is always willing to help. He is always willing to help the trade and industries as a measure to facilitate ease of doing business. The KC Law College, Mumbai has invited Sri Radhesham Sharma to give his valuable guidance on impact of GST on MSME sector. We welcome you, sir, and now may I request you to address the gathering.
Good morning, Principal Ma'am, all the faculty here, and the budding lawyers who are assembled in the hall. Before I start with the PPT, it is some conceptual things regarding this MSME sector. Am I audible? Okay. So before that, let's start. As they say, the best way to start a serious topic is to start casually. So, as in my introduction, a lot of things other than law also has been revealed about me. sports and other things. So similarly, in our career, as all of you have, some of you are in the first year, or some of you may be in the final year. Those of you who have seriously taken law as a career, certainly I will like to say that today law has been codified, but from the beginning, when the concept of family, society evolved, the law started taking shape. It was uncodified that time. In fact, even now in British Britain, it is still in uncodified form. It is known as common law. So it's a very interesting subject, and every person should have some exposure to law. It makes you understand your domain knowledge. If you are in the accounting side or in any side, it helps you to understand that. So I am very happy to address this gathering where all the people who have seriously taken law as a career has assembled. And in fact, it makes me nervous also when the question and answer session will start, whether I will be able to face your questions and answer properly. So we will start. Before we start with MSME sector, I think that we will start with the taxation itself, that why it is called goods and services. See, basically taxes are levied on goods and services from the very beginning, but name was different. It was earlier known as sales tax, and then it came to be known as VAT on goods. Services tax, was levied first time in 1994. Before that, in India, we did not have a concept of service. Initially, it was levied only on 3 services. One of them was life insurance, another was telephone services, BSNL, and one more. In fact, all the 3 services on which the tax was levied, the major service provider was the government. So it was said that government started levying tax on itself before it could start levying on the general public. So initially, public could not fathom that breadth and reach of this service tax, that it ultimately every person will be burdened with this tax. So slowly and slowly, over the 10-15 years of time, we saw the advent of GST, and both service tax and the goods tax, known as VAT, they were merged into one. And there was one more tax which our department was levying, that was called central excise tax, central excise duty. So all these 3 major, central excise duty, VAT and service tax, was merged into one tax called GST. So as all of you know that it was first levied, it came into existence, into operation from 1st July of 2017. Now, all of you are familiar with this, so we will start with the topic. The industry has been divided into several sectors. So this micro, small and medium enterprises have been clubbed into one, and they are popularly known as MSME. The Parent Act was enacted in 2006, where it was defined that which units we will call micro, which one will be called small and medium. So as you see the slide, I need not repeat, this has emerged as a highly vibrant and dynamic sector of the Indian economy, and it contributes significantly. In the next slide, we will see what is its contribution. So can we change the slide, or? Okay, no, I can do it for you, fine. So now this graph will give you an idea. So the contribution of MSME is almost 30% in the GDP, and 90 million MSME. There is one platform, Udyam. So all those budding entrepreneurs, they register on that. These days, the new generation, they are very ambitious, very aggressive, and many of them are not waiting for doing post-graduation or any specialized subject. Immediately after graduating, they have so much idea, so much fertile brain is there, they immediately set up some enterprise and they start working from home, and slowly as they grow, as this startup, you have seen that how much employment it has generated. So this sector is really very important for the government. The government has come up with many schemes to promote this sector. So in the next slides we will see those things. This is the special enactment of 2006. Under that, the ministry issued a notification also, which is written there. So far only these two things are there, which guide us and even the taxpayers how to go ahead with this sector. Now, as you see, the definition is based on the investment in the plant and machinery and the turnover. So up to 5 crores, then up to 50 crores turnover I am talking, and then up to 250 crores, that is the medium. So this is the classification. Though we can come to the question and answer session later, but even during this presentation, any of you has any doubt, please be free to question. I will try to answer to the best of my ability. So we will move to the next slide because we have to complete the presentation within the time limit. This slide deals with the importance, and like 30 million people are, 30 million industries are there, 100 million people are employed there. This is a general statement about MSME, so you can have it quickly. I am not repeating each and everything because everything is there for the audience to read. So what is the need of repeating? This one is something which gives you a food for thought, that why MSME sector is being emphasized. So what has happened that these days there is a lot of migration, because the industries or even the services sector, they are not equally distributed in the country. There are certain centers, so the workforce migrates from one state where there is no such concentration of industries or services, and they leave their houses, their family is disrupted, and they come here. So if the MSME is encouraged by the government and they are able to generate employment at their doorsteps, near their villages, then this migration problem can be addressed too. So that is one advantage. The local skills and traditional continuity. There are so many local skills. Many of you may be aware that for bangles and brass material, Muradabad has been famous. For some certain handicrafts like blanket, your Mirzapur, Banaras has been famous. In my native place, I come from Bihar. There also in Bhagalpuri, silk was very famous. So every state in India has its own traditional industries, and they typically have employment potential. Because today's in the mechanized world, the machines have replaced human beings. So in MSME there is still a scope that in even in remote places, if they are encouraged, all the incentives are provided, then more employment will be generated. This sector provides opportunity for women workforce also, because ladies sitting in their homes also, they can do many things which ultimately in the supply chain, the final product will be made in the big industrial hub, but the small components can be supplied from those remote places, from the villages where these MSME will be operating. So certainly minimum disruption in family life. So these are the human aspects why we want to encourage MSME sector. So this slide discusses with some of the schemes which have been especially brought by the government for this sector. One is threshold exemptions, like up to 20 lakhs turnover, there is no need of a GST registration. So this exemption is threshold based. Composition levy, as Principal Ma'am just told you, over a cup of tea we were discussing about this levy. So this is a levy which is an optional scheme, and rather than on invoice based. Right now this GST is levied at every transaction. I will later on, other than the slide, also try to discuss that what is the difference between a direct tax and indirect tax, and the philosophy behind taxing a person directly and taxing the person indirectly is also different. So that I will explain to you. So in composition levy, it is based on net your turnover. So these small restaurants and all, they are typically going into a small this thing, because दिन भर में 100 ग्राहक आएंगे. Sometimes I can switch over to Hindi language also, because this is our habit. So this a restaurant, suppose 100 customers come a day. Now he has to prepare 100 invoices and levy GST on 100 times. So government said that there where the amounts are lesser but the number of invoices are much bigger, kirana stores, so they can, rather than all these compliances, straight away on their turnover 5% they can pay. Then they don't have to keep account of how much input tax credit. There is a concept of credit which a business gets, those inputs which are utilized in their outward supplies, so they get a credit of that, and the liability generated on the outward supply they can pay through the credit. So उतना accounting रखना small businesses के लिए possible नहीं है, तो उनको कहा कि आप सीधे turnover पे दे दो, and even they need not file. There are so many returns. In fact, in GST there are more than 10 returns, and there are hundreds of forms to be complied. So these small businesses have been given this is an optional scheme. You can go for it. You can change over to the regular scheme also. Regular scheme means every transaction you have to generate an invoice and show the tax component in that, so that even your to whom you have supplied, they can take a credit on that, because unless you show in your invoice how much is the amount of tax, they won't be able to avail of the credit. So other facility is quarterly filing. A regular business has to file every month, but this MSME can file quarterly, so only 4 returns in a year. Then certain export incentives have been provided. Concessional rate of IGST on import. Then you have So the purpose of this exemption for MSME sector so that they can compete with the large organizations. Otherwise, they won't be able to survive. So big multinationals and large industries, they are also in the same kind of business. So this a small supplier should survive. That's why these facilities have been especially announced for them. Then certain exemptions, like this is written there that for goods, for a manufacturer, the limit is 40 lakhs. In a smaller states, it is 20 lakhs. And for a service provider, it is 20 lakhs. And in a smaller states, it is 10 lakhs. So in fact, it has created some heartburning because these days 40 lakhs exemption is nothing. And then new entrepreneurs, when they start business, maybe within 1 year they will cross this limit, and then they have to necessarily go for all those compliances, which increases their cost, because if the compliances increase, the person will have to hire an accountant or one more staff just to file the returns, then certainly cost of business increases. So maybe in some time to come, these exemptions will increase, and maybe up to 1 crore, I feel that it will be reasonable for the government that up to 1 crore, there should be no need of registering with the GST department. As you know, you might be reading in the newspapers or media day in and day out that now GST is a much feared department. So exemption from registration is better. One facility, the last sentence will interest you. What is the meaning of this? HSN code. Anyone familiar with this word HSN code? Yes, please. Yes, you are correct. I will further explain. HSN stands for Harmonized System of Nomenclature. We have a World Customs Organization in Brussels, that is Belgium, and more than 150 countries are member states of WCO. It is called World Customs Organization. So basically, nomenclature of goods it had to be regulated because in international trade, every country is supplying to another country, and if a particular commodity, suppose shaving razor, so the supplying country should also classify under the same chapter, and the receiving country also should classify in the same chapter, so that the tariff rates are matching with each other. So now there is a requirement that this HSN code is up to 8-digit level. This is all the goods are divided into 98 chapters, chapter 1 to 98 in the customs tariff, and the central excise tariff and now the GST, they are a replica of that customs tariff, because the international body decided that aircraft will go under this chapter heading, and some food material, chocolate will go under this chapter heading. In fact, that customs tariff is also very interesting. So some of you who have interest, you can once go through the custom tariff. You will find that it is coterminous, and it is you can find the journey of civilization in the customs tariff. It starts with live animals. The first chapter of custom tariff is live animals, and then you have. Please let me know if I am exceeding the time limit.
Sir, is it a time to ask question or we will take it?
We will try to rush through the slides fast, Many speakers, in fact, they read out all this what is already visible to our audience. So I don't take much time. So you can.
I go back to my last slide where you say that GST is implemented to give a fair opportunity to small industries. So that's a very simple example. Like some people they sell it nowadays through e-market. So Reliance Fresh vis-a-vis small vendors. So still you buy through the small vendor, but you buy through this Reliance. So Reliance prices are much lower. So is that competition is getting killed? That is my first question. Second is, I believe that GST is to avoid duplication of taxes. So if that is so, then do really the end customer sees the reduction in the price or fair price? So these are my two questions.
Very relevant questions, I will say. See, why this special protection we are talking of to a small sectors? Like you have given an example of Reliance Fresh. So certainly Reliance Fresh has no exemption. So they have to take registration and each and every invoice they have to document. So and they have to file so many returns. GSTR 1, 2, 3 up to GSTR 10. GST returns. So certainly their compliance cost will be more. We are saying that up to 20 lakhs no registration is required for a MSME as online operator. Of course this 20 lakhs is also not sufficient. It should be 50 lakhs or 1 crore. So when certain exemptions are given to this small player, even in e-commerce, you are worried about the e-commerce business. So there the real challenge lies for a medium or a small unit, that since Reliance or the big giants will be able to provide them at a lower cost, because their scale of operations is much higher. So in economics, the state theory is that the higher the scale of economy, the lower the price. So if Reliance is able to buy from somebody, सपोज अभी उनको मैंगो बेचना है, हापुस आ गया, उसने पूरा रत्नागिरी का मार्केट कैप्चर कर लिया, तो वॉट एवर जितना आम आज निकलता है मेरे को दे दो. सो एंड कंज्यूमर को ही विल बी एबल टू सेल लेसर. अब ये बेचारा छोटा वाला कहाँ जाएगा? अभी सो मेनी न्यू service providers came during as you know COVID times. What happened in COVID times? In 2020 suddenly in the month of March the country faced a lockdown. अभी आम खाने की तो आदत है, अप्रैल से ही हापुस खोजने लगते हैं, सब्जी भी नहीं मिल रही है, आम भी नहीं मिल रहा है. So what happened? Many new entrepreneurs, they have started some sort of startups, or whatever you call a startup is just a name. So they started contacting the farmers and supplying door to door. So they gave a challenge to Reliance Fresh that time. So they find their own innovative ways. See, government or tax administration, we only, I don't know how far actually our efforts are translating into relief for them. हम लोग क्रेडिट ले लेते हैं कि हमने ये कर दिया, वो कर दिया, आपको इतना एग्जेम्पशन दे दिया, उतना एग्जेम्पशन दे दिया. एक्चुअल तो जो एंटरप्रेन्योर है, जो बंदा काम कर रहा है, उसका अपना दिमाग जैसे चल रहा है, मार्केट के डायनेमिक्स को जैसे समझ रहा है, और वो अपनी कॉस्टिंग जितना कम कर ले रहा है, उतना ही इज एबल टू सेल हिज प्रोडक्ट्स अगेंस्ट द बिग जायंट्स. सो all these measures in themselves are not sufficient, but it is a small attempt from the government side. The other question was, what was that?
The end customer,
Ah.
how that person gets benefited on double taxation avoidance.
Yeah, that this system is taking care, because the basic purpose of VAT, earlier it was value added tax, was that only, that there should not be any cascading of taxes. Cascading of taxes means अगर साबुन फैक्ट्री में बना और उसका कॉस्ट वहाँ 10 रुपया था, उस बीच में देयर आर होलसेलर्स, देन देयर आर रिटेलर्स एंड देन इट कम्स टू द कंज्यूमर। तो हर आदमी ने 10 टका कमाया और हर बार टैक्स लगा, तो कंज्यूमर तक आते आते वो महंगा हो जाएगा। सो दिस वैट रेजिम ऑल्सो, देयर वाज ए कंसेप्ट ऑफ credit. So whatever tax the manufacturer has suffered in procuring of inputs, in manufacture of soap he has many things to buy, plant and machinery is there, transportation is there, so he gets a credit of taxes paid. So at the time of his liability, he is taking a set off from that, so he is able to keep his price lower. Then the next wholesaler, he will also get a credit. The retailer, he will also credit. It is only the end consumer who will get no credit. So ultimately the tax burden is certainly passed to the consumer. In that context only, all of you might have 1 or 2 months back, there was a report published by some international journal where they said that in India, the major tax burden of GST is paid by the poor people. So there was a lot of hue and cry, and the government said that India को बदनाम करने के लिए कर रहे हैं. But the fact of life is that ultimately it is the consumer who bears the burden. In the process, all these industries are generating credits. And in our audit, what day in and day out we are doing, we are trying to plug that loophole, that from where this industry is getting so much credit that they are not paying any tax in cash. You will be surprised that companies having turnover of 10,000 crores, the cash paid in tax, the GST paid in cash is very less. So the basic philosophy of VAT is that at every stage the credit will be available so that the tax burden on the end consumer is minimized. Only on the value addition part, the tax should be paid in cash. Like if I have brought my inputs at 100 rupees and paid 10%, so I have a credit of 10 rupees in my account. Now I am selling at 120 rupees. Again tax rate is 10%. So I have to pay 12 rupees to government. Now 10 rupees I have credit. So I end paying 2 rupees in cash. But for these large industries, even these 2 rupees they are not paying. So our job in audit or preventive or anti-evasion, or we have some specialized intelligence agency which we call DGGI, Directorate General of GST Intelligence. The earlier name was different. So day in and day out we are really struggling with the huge balance sheets of the companies, that from where this credit is being generated. So this is a cat and mouse game वो चलता रहता है. But ultimately systems बनाने ही हैं. You have to make rules, you have to make procedures. Without that, tax administration चलेगा नहीं. So, are you satisfied with the answer? Or?
Yes, effectively, the common man is paying GST. That's the bottom line.
That is the bottom line. That is the bottom line. But it is not that entirely common man is only paying. There are many industries where proper. Now coming to our profession. Suppose I am also including myself in your community. Tomorrow many of you will become lawyers. So far lawyers, advocate as a person, he is exempted from GST. I am correct, Lal sir? But is it law firm is exempted?
Law firm, if it is a law firm, they have to pay a cover charge. Otherwise, the reverse charge, the recipient of
The recipient pay. So lawyers are very influential. So they said, why we will not pay GST? So if you are running a law firm, it is your client who will end up paying the tax. But in general, wherever you are earning because of your skills, you are a consultant, you are an architect, you are a lawyer, you are a doctor. Lawyer has been exempted, but someone is paying. Here the maximum payment is in cash. Suppose I am a skilled person, I provide you some consultancy service and I have charged you 1 lakh rupees in one invoice. I may be earning, my turnover may be 5 crore, 10 crore. But where is the inputs for me? At the maximum I have one office जिसका मैं रेंट दे रहा हूँ, मेरे पास 2-4 स्टाफ है, टेलीफोन का खर्चा और तो नहीं है. मैं जो कमा रहा हूँ मैं अपने स्किल का कमा रहा हूँ, ब्रेन का कमा रहा हूँ. तो वहाँ पे इनपुट का क्रेडिट का स्कोप बहुत कम है. सो यू विल फाइंड दिस एक्टर्स while Akshay Kumar has been the highest taxpayer for consecutive years. I was just seeing his balance sheet. He has no scope of paying through credit. If he is earning 100 crores and rate is 30%, he is paying 30 crores. So there is one segment of the taxpayers who are paying maximum in cash. So that balances it is the ultimate this thing. It is those sectors who are earning because of their skills, individual performance, they are one of the highest taxpayers. So we will go to the next slide. This we have already discussed. We were discussing about composition levy, so it is an optional levy and some special benefits are given. It is provided in the slide. 1%, 5%, 6%. These are the returns, GSTR 1, GSTR 3B, up to certain turnover 5 crores they have to file. We just discussed this input tax credit, they get the credit. You see the figures, how much employment is generated. Almost 30% of country's economic output as per National Sample Survey. Yeah.
Since it is MSME, so small scale industries and all are being included. Now housewives are trying to do business online. So
Yes.
if they want to sell their products on say Amazon or Flipkart and everything, there is an option that to do it. But before registering, they ask the GST number. Now, as per the GST Act and the rules and regulation, if the income is exceeding 20 lakhs and above, then you're supposed to pay a GST on the entire thing. So why the websites have actually made the GST number mandatory for this small scale industries itself? Because their income is not going to exceed 20 lakhs. So why it is being made mandatory to register for them?
I think the option to take a registration is in day one, because there may be many of the ambitious entrepreneurs who will exceed that 20 lakhs within no time.
If it is
So-
exceeding 20 lakhs,
Huh.
because a
The
startup is
system has given that option that you can apply for GST registration from day one. But it is not mandatory that way. There must be.
no, there is on those websites like Amazon, when you want to sell a product of a Flipkart itself, you have to have a GST number. So why can't the department take something or do some initiative to not to make it mandatory for the small entrepreneurship? Because ultimately it is creating a hurdle for those people to go on technology savvy.
Your point is correct, but I think those who are, they are called exempted supplies, less than
But
20
sir,
lakhs.
that's what I'm saying. Why can't the department take this initiative that will tell those Amazon or Flipkart or any websites where the products are being sold online to take it?
A simple declaration by the supplier of services or goods that I am within exemption limit, that should be enough for the this
Yeah, so that
Amazon or
they are not putting that thing, you know, so because y'all are monitoring the entire thing, so y'all can recommend it to this thing to keep it into their website.
so we have a GST council which decides everything. So I am sure this issue must have been brought out.
No, it's not your fault.
If it is not brought out, if you know some association or some budding entrepreneurs, it can be certainly a presentation may be made, the difficulties being faced. And of course now I will include this in my presentation also, that because we have, why I am here, because department is encouraging this sort of session with the general public also, taxpayers also, and of course the tax practitioners community, because many of them you may be joining the taxation sector. So this is called hand holding, or whatever name you give, workshop or seminar. So this particular point I will certainly improve my presentation, and when I send back a feedback to my parent department, I will certainly improve.
So you can quote
Thank you
these
very
law
much.
college suggestions.
Yes, certainly. Now साहब इनका नाम details ले लीजिए.
It's not optional. It is not optional. It is not optional, 101%. We were doing it for the artisans to say.
The point is well
And we
taken.
have done it, that's right. No ma'am, day before yesterday also we have done it.
Lal Sahab will be able to throw light on this.
So just try to do it on Amazon right now.
It is on the agenda of the GST Council now. They are going to start.
Okay. I was sure that it must have engaged the attention.
This is the agenda.
Yeah, because even I had raised this question to the council once, you know. So till now they have not replied.
Nirmala madam has also assured that this will be implemented in near future.
Yeah, because there are so many women who are facing this problem to sell their products online, and it can be a good income for them to get it into this thing, you know.
GST law is evolving. Slowly and gradually the government is coming forward with the facilitation of the MSME sector, particularly micro and medium and small. So slowly and gradually they are adopting the measures to help them. That is the purpose sir is coming there.
So my next slide, you can see other measures. Some of the things may be repetitions of the earlier slide. So you can just have a quick look on this, and any of you who later on for his records need the copy of that, we will keep a copy of the PPT here. You can utilize that. This is again major decisions. What are the decisions taken by the government? Relaxation in late fees, refund to certain industries. In textiles and fabric, new notifications have come. They have been given certain facilities. Since we are already at 11:30, so I am quickly rushing through this so that we can have at least 5 minutes of question answer session. Again, these see nil filers, they have been given certain facilities to lower the compliance burden. Self-assessment on quarterly basis, that is small industries need not file every month. These are some of the major decisions right from 2017. So in your leisure time, you can go through all these things. What are the decisions in different council meetings? These are some item wise, like fishing hooks may some tax concession has been given, some other products, some tax concessions have been given. So these things you can, I mean, see leisurely. Just information. This is just information. Nothing to, I mean, discuss much about. Then see, you see in this 10. These will interest you. There are certain export-linked incentive scheme that if you are exporting, able to export goods or services, then certain licenses are given, advanced license, EPCG. So there again, the quota for MSME is more compared to large industries. So for the same, suppose $1 lakh export has been done by an MSME and same by other industries, the duty-free entitlement for MSME may be more. So there are actually notifications based which are available in the public domain. You can see that. This is, I've just tried to summarize the same things. Turnover for composition dealer, that has been increased. Earlier it was 1 lakh. Now it is up to 1.5 crore turnover. You can go for the composition scheme where you don't have to issue invoices and file returns. One very important thing that input tax credit, the scope of input tax credit has been widened for this sector. Earlier, credit was not available for transportation of persons in a motor vehicle. It was blocked credit. General insurance, repair and maintenance of motor vehicle, these things were actually, government initially said that no credit will be available if you are dealing with providing these services, but they have also been added. Payment of tax on advances. What happens that the day you get an advance from your client, so tax becomes due. So but for this sector, this exemption has been made. Some other trade-friendly measures has been taken, which you can have a quick glance on them. I need not repeat them. On handicrafts, the rates has been lowered. It was lowered from 28% to 18%, then subsequently it was reduced from 18% to 5%. So these are some of the measures on specific sectors, handicrafts, because they create more employment and they can be set up in any village also, and they save the traditional industries. Job work facilitation. Job work is that suppose I have some orders and I don't have the plant and machinery. I find out that who has a plant and machinery to manufacture this. So I will give that manufacturer on a job work to him. He will prepare for me, send me back, then I will sell on my invoice. He will charge me his labor charges. So he will be paying the GST on that component only, not on the value of goods. This is what the job work is. Again, GST rates on government contracts, they also have been reduced. Like you can see, it is from 18% to 12%. In Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, again it has been reduced from 8% to 1% with effect from 1/4/2019. For restaurant services, in retail you will find more restaurants and these kirana shops. They are the largest employment providers. In every gully mohalla you will find that. In fact, that this big scale and a small scale, this fight that in US or Europe you won't find roadside vendors. Everything is in big departmental stores. तो खाना भी लेने जाते हैं बिग डिपार्टमेंटल स्टोर. पेमेंट पे कोई हॉकर नहीं रहता है, बट यहाँ पे दिस इज पार्ट ऑफ लाइफ. सो दिस सेक्टर नाउ हॉकर सेलिंग ए पान स्टॉल or some cold drink or any even vada pav, they are also exceeding this limit, 20 lakhs. So recently, in one of the cases went to a court in Delhi. So the learned judge was very furious. In the morning he read the newspapers that these GST inspectors went to some roadside vendors also and asked them, show your returns. And a bail application was before the judge. The judge have granted bail. He said, you people are going to these khomcha walas and asking them to pay GST. So I am granting bail. Department wanted that to keep that person under remand for 14 days. So these are facts of life that in India, since these small businesses are there to stay, it's a question of it is a human aspect is there. You can't throw away all these hawkers from the road, all these small businesses from the road. So the clash of interest between the multinationals who provide at a lower cost better quality goods in their stores and these small service providers or retailers, what to do? How you can then check them out? During COVID time, this was a big problem. In healthcare and education services also some concessions has been given. Then GTA service, GTA is goods transport agency. There we have many small transporters. Some of them are only providing on commission basis. So they have been exempted. If you are a factory and you are using my trucks, then under reverse charge you only will pay. I will not pay because I am a small transporter. So this is this RCM is a concept, reverse charge mechanism. This has been brought especially for MSME sector, that you don't pay, your liability is shifted to the recipient of service, whereas it is a supplier of service who is the person liable to pay. In fact, this subject was different, so I am not discussing much definition part of the GST Act. In fact, it is the definition part which is more interesting for an advocate or a lawyer, because when you will fight cases against the government, being a lawyer, you will harp on what the definition part says. Who is a supplier? Who is a person liable to pay? And you will win your cases by attacking the fundamentals. I, as a commissioner in my office, I am asking officers to think of what the other party's advocate or what the honorable tribunal member or judge will opine on that law point. So I would love to have some session in future where Madam invites me for the law point of GST Act or any other, because that is something which interests a lawyer more. These are only this presentation is only just gives you an idea that what are the steps taken by the government. In that you don't have to show your legal skills. So maybe in future. But one quickly I will each of you might have recently noticed that an amnesty scheme has come. So everybody is calling it an amnesty scheme. How much it is an amnesty scheme? So there is a question to you. See, this is the amnesty scheme, and this is a table where certain non-compliances, suppose somebody could not file their returns in time, could not pay their taxes in time, because when this GST came 2017, 18, 18, 19, the system itself was not working properly. That GST and portal was not working properly. So many could not file. Those who were honest traders, they also could not file their returns in time. Then this COVID came. So 2 years again, there was a lot of difficulty. So even after 5 years, there are a lot of problems are there in the system. As she has just pointed out, that This Amazon or big people, they ask from the day one that you should have a GST number. Now government is saying that 20 lakhs is exempted, why I should apply for a GST number when I have just started a business. So this thing has not been addressed even now after 5 years of GST. Now we are hoping that this matter has caught the attention of GST Council, that is a tax body who addresses all these things. So if you quickly see what are the schemes which has been announced. So one question which I will ask you to answer, that which says that if you could not file your return in the earlier years, a window has been open for 3 months from 1st April to 30th June. So it says you can file your return. So what does it mean? So only the person who had not filed their return at all, only are they covered under amnesty, or somebody who had filed a wrong return or some mistake was there, he can also avail of this amnesty. So I will like an answer from anybody. Whether a person can file a revised return and yet be covered under this amnesty. No. Only the person who had not filed return, he is covered under this. If this is a view, then this is a travesty of justice. But I was an honest taxpayer, I filed my returns and I committed some mistakes. And you are blocking me saying, no, it is not for you. It is only for that fellow who had not filed at all. That means you are promoting the dishonest. So that is a question before an advocate. So what is the majority, opinion? A person who had filed return but filed it wrongly and or concealed something from the government. In the meantime, because audit and other things come and they said कि बाबा तुमने ये गलती किया है, यहाँ पे तुम्हारी चोरी है, तो अब वो बोलता है कि मेरे को रिवाइज रिटर्न फाइल करने दो. Whether this amnesty is for them or whether it is not for them. क्या मैडम? होना चाहिए नहीं होना चाहिए? होना चाहिए. So that is where a lawyer will be required. Because now a lot of people will be denied by the department. No, ये तो जिसने नहीं भरा था उसके लिए, वो बेचारा किधर जाए? Then they will approach a law firm. Abhi this GST tribunal has not been formed, so the only option is go to the High Court. So all of you who are quickly finishing your finals and intend to start practice, for you there is a huge scope in taxation. In fact, it is everywhere, even in criminal, because now so many criminal cases day in and day out are instituted. Our law enforcement agencies are not following the guidelines which the honorable courts are saying. As you have might have seen that, madam, we have 5 minutes more, or we under 5 minutes. So thought is just to, as a thought provoking, because they are all law students. In the IT Act, there was a section 66. Section 66 E tha laam sahab ya A. Section 66 which was much misused. Anybody posting something on the social media, if it against some powerful person, you will be arrested. So information technology, section 66E also. So 2 years back it was struck down by the Honorable Supreme. Yet police stations across the countries are yet arresting people under this. So again the lawyers' work is there. So in criminal side also there is no dearth of work for a lawyer, and in taxation also, because we as a department, we are expert in drafting such laws which will create disputes. So then taxpayer will come to you. Our framing of the language of the enactments are very complex. In one page it is provided that, notwithstanding. So the sentence starts from the top, ends at the bottom, and after coming to bottom you forget what is written in the top. सो सो योर स्किल्स है जो आपको पढ़ाया जाएगा यहाँ 3 साल में, जो फ्रेशर्स हैं उनके वो स्किल्स जो आप यहाँ डेवलप करेंगे फ्रॉम द फैकल्टी, फ्रॉम द विजिटिंग फैकल्टी, फ्रॉम द इमिनेंट लॉयर्स विच द कॉलेज विल इनवाइट एज ए गेस्ट स्पीकर, तो ये सब चीज़ें आपको काम आएंगी और हमारा GST भी आपको काम आएगा. सो आई विल लाइक टू फिनिश माई प्रेजेंटेशन. स्टिल anybody any question, a general question? Yes, please.
So question. On a food item, 5% GST is being charged, but on a cake item or chocolate item, it is 18%. Why it is done that way?
Yes, this I have in fact talked to many of my colleagues sitting in the GST council, that why you are creating such artificial differentiations, artificial segmentation. कि वही चॉकलेट आप वो बिस्किट खाएंगे उसके ऊपर चॉकलेट है तो इतना रेट लगेगा, चॉकलेट नहीं है तो कम रेट लगेगा. तो बड़ी अजीब सी फिलॉसफी है. व्हाट इज हैपनिंग इन इंडिया, व्हाई इट इज क्रिएटिंग डिस्टॉर्शंस इन द इकोनॉमी, दैट द गवर्नमेंट ऑलवेज वांट्स टू शो दैट वी आर फॉर द पुअर पीपल. तो जो बिना चॉकलेट का बिस्किट खाएगा वो पुअर है, गरीब आदमी है, उसको कम लगेगा. जिसके में काफ़ी एम्बेलिशमेंट्स है तो वो आदमी अमीर हो गया, उसको ज़्यादा लगने चाहिए. दिस क्रिएट्स a lot of, then this induces the person to do a tax चोरी. Similar are many provisions. रूम 7,500 के ऊपर का रूम अगर पर नाइट है तो वो 28% में चला जाएगा. उससे कम का है तो इसमें चला जाएगा, उसमें भी चोरी हो रही है. 1,000 रुपये के ऊपर की शर्ट है तो ये रेट है, उससे कम का है तो ये रेट. In our anxiety, this is not only happening in tax field. Populist measures. We are a country where we want to show that we are pro people or pro poor. That's why this thing happens.
So that means poor people don't get paid.
Obviously, when government wants to tax cake at a higher rate in the name of pro people welfare measures, then this is a natural conclusion.
And so one more thing.
Which is not correct. It is not a correct thing.
So one more thing, restaurants are charging GST on the service charge.
Now see
Unless and
how
until we do not
how
tell them that GST
yes,
is not applied.
this is another very interesting topic. What happened? Restaurants start from the beginning they were charging something as a service charge. So it went up to the courts, and court said that you can't charge separately as a service charge if already you are levying GST on that.
No, not GST is being levied on the food, but on the service charge also GST is being levied. So why can't the department take certain actions or certain solutions for the things where things should be improved, and the CAs are saying no, it is being paid to the GST, whereas it is not going to the department at all.
Yes, please.
There is a GST as well as service charges. So actually it is double tax.
No. GST, service charge, so GST on service charge.
Why it is so?
So why it is so that the department should take some initiative to monitor the system also?
Unfortunately, what happened that when the court has given a decision on this service charge, in fact 2 months back, a few months back only, you can scroll the particular websites giving this as Supreme Court decision, Supreme Court or Delhi High Court. They said that levying GST on the service charge is unconstitutional.
Yeah, yes.
But again this wheel has turned full, and again some clarification has come where they say no, the restaurants are entitled to include service charge and then put GST on
No,
that.
sir. Unless and until, as a consumer, we are not aware of it. But unless and until you don't approach them that you cannot levy GST on the service charge, then they will remove that GST on the service charge, and then it's okay. But we have to approach them. So this awareness is not being done to the common man at all. People like, okay, fine, we are okay to pay it, but people who are not like.
You are correct. This has happened with me also, and even I fought and then I didn't pay. So those who know the law, they tell that restaurant fellow that you can't charge on this portion.
Yes.
In fact, service charge is also why it should be there, should be a service charge. Because whatever service you are giving, this is already included in your bill. If you have 10 waiters in the restaurant, what is the service of a restaurant? You are providing food and some waiter is bringing, I am sitting at my table, somebody will bring food for me, somebody will bring water for me. Whatever I need toothpick, I need finger balls, he will bring, this is the service. So for that you are already, it is inbuilt in your food cost, still you are charging a service charge. So per se that service charge is wrong. But over the years what happened, then in our country at least it is not mandatory. In US if you go, if you don't pay tip to that person, you have to pay tip every place. आप टैक्सी हायर करेंगे तो टिप देना है, आप खाना खाएंगे तो टिप देना मैंडेटरी. दे फाइट विथ यू इफ यू डोंट पे टिप एंड टिप 10% minimum.
So this is debatable because actually what happens when you are reading the menu, nowadays they have that thing that they put it in the menu, below the menu. So they are like, if you can read all the remaining dishes, you can't read that we applied 10% service charge applicable. So that is implied, like basically implied contract, like basically something what you are already aware of and you are going ahead. So that's the reason why. So but I had a different question also.
Yes.
So, well, I see that food we've been charged GST, but on alcoholic beverages we are being charged VAT. So,
Thank you.
yeah,
Yes.
we are being charged VAT on alcoholic beverages. So, what's the reason? Why is that happening?
This is one area which is again which is creating distortions in the economy. 3 items are still kept outside GST. One is alcoholic beverage, one is diesel and petrol, and one is pan masala. Again, this is a fight for revenue between the stakeholders. States do not want to let go away this thing. States want, because petrol and diesel sales, alcoholic beverages sales, they come under state revenue. So they don't want that this should go to center. Center should get any percentage of this. So that's why these 3 items have still not been brought under GST. I think someday it will come when it is one nation, one market. Then it should be. Because it is creating distortions in the economy.
They have been very slack, they're charging 5% on VAT also.
On all these 3 items, the end consumer is paying more than 200% almost. This diesel which you are buying at 100 rupees, when India has bought from Russia, it should have not been less than more than 30 rupees.
But that is also, they are being slack here also because they are charging, they are charging 5% VAT on the liquor, on the alcoholic beverage. But VAT is discontinued. Why are we being charged on that?
Because what has a GST, 3 taxes were subsumed in GST. One was VAT, one was central excise, and one was service tax. But since these 3 items have been kept out of GST, so still VAT is also there, and that manufacturing duty is also there. Just like the earlier regime. So earlier regime is still prevailing in respect of these 3 items, which are the major source of revenue for the states. Any other questions?
Go on, sir. This is Mayank Chain from Safiga FNLB. Sir, thank you for the talk. Thank you very much. It was very informative. But in the new form of GST, it's that there is no autonomy for the states to levy any taxes, right? So the concept of fiscal federalism has been put to sleep altogether. So how is it that in the case of MSMEs or even SMEs, that the state government can actually implement policies to be very, to incentivize these industries? For example, in agriculture and MSME, Punjab is much more prosperous than you say, for example, Vidarbha and Maharashtra. So how are we supposed to take that in the state perspective for GST? Thank you.
See, the GST, if you see all those, any letterhead of the government, it will say one nation, one market. So if that is the basic objective, then states certainly won't have their individual policies, individual discretion to levy taxes as per their own requirement. Like in Maharashtra, there has been a demand from the beginning that Vidarbha region is less developed as compared to Western Maharashtra. So certainly goods and services provided in Vidarbha Maharashtra should have the discretion to levy lesser rate of goods and services tax for the industries operating in Vidarbha than Western Maharashtra or any developed place. That discretion is not there. What is happening? Because there is a concept of place of supply. So goods move from within the state, and goods move from one state to another state. So now it is the recipient state where the tax liability arises. So that's why states do not have much discretion. In fact, whatever they have to say, it will be only through GST Council at the center, where the center's representatives and the state's representatives, state's finance ministers are members of GST Council. But now, since there are 29 states, there is no uniform opinion. They have also diverse opinion. That's why they are not able to get through what is peculiar to their state, peculiar to their geographical imbalances, economic disparity. That is one negative aspect of GST. Because of that, in many states where it was launched, it was later on withdrawn. Canada and certain countries, they had experimented with this GST and later on they have withdrawn. There the concept of federalism comes, like in US, all the 50 states have their own mechanism to tax the goods and services. So that is the fact of life in our country. Any more or will?
Yeah, good afternoon, sir. Thank you for the deliberation, sir.
Yes.
Thank you for the deliberation. My question is in respect, I have two questions. One is in respect of returns. So for an ordinary taxpayer who has not opted for the QRNP scheme, so he would more so be filing a monthly GSTR 1 and a monthly GSTR 3B. So at what stage of point will the government be able to integrate these two returns, wherein there will be just the 3B, and of course the GSTR 1 sales data can go in an integrated manner in this one form, because then there will be an elimination of at least 12 returns for each registration. And coming on this each registration, then if I as a taxpayer have 10 place of businesses in different states, so I have to take 10 registrations. So it's not really one nation, one tax, one return. So again, at what point of stage will the government be looking into this aspect, wherein there can be just a one return? Of course, the place of supply can help them to see which state gets which share, how much share, but there will be some technical difficulties as the adjudication goes. And my second question is respect of the GST Appellate Tribunal. So it's 5+ years and 3 months down the line will be 6 years. Still there is no GST Appellate Tribunal. If my case goes against me at the Commissioner Appeals level, then I have to knock the doors of the High Court, which takes time, and also it's a costly affair today.
Yes, now I will answer your question. The second question regarding constitution of GST Council, this Finance Act 2023 has already approved that proposal and the process has started. In fact, I am also personally very anxiously waiting for constitution of this council, GST Council, so that we can also apply for being a member on the tribunal, because then it gives you more number of years in the service, more perks. It will take 1 year at least, because they have to notify the rules of procedure, so many things, then they will invite constitution of the benches and all that. So Maharashtra will have how many benches, whether Maharashtra wants in Bombay also and in Nagpur also, all these things are still in the pipeline, so 1 year. So this is going to be addressed. GST councils, it's a matter of time, this GST tribunal is coming. To your first question, where you want to reduce the number of GSTR returns, I will ask you one question. Are you not going to intend to practice in taxation? Are you not going, do you not intend to start practice in taxation? Because in a lighter way, the more complexities, the more job opportunities for an advocate. So I was just asking whether you are intending to practice. Of course, this registration, multiple registration, which you pointed out two things. One was GSTR 1 and 3B. Why both returns should be there when both are only a reflection of my outward supplies, my sales, isn't it? So पहले मुझे GSTR 1 में डिक्लेयर करना पड़ता है मैंने कितना इनवॉइस इशू किया, और 3B में ये करना पड़ता है कि उसकी टैक्स मैंने कैसे पे की, क्रेडिट से पे की या कैश से पे की. So this is your suggestion. Your another suggestion is that why multiple registration in different countries. If you have read a news article recently, government is now seized of this matter, and soon there is a proposal that there will be a single registration for, if I have a presence in 10 states in India, I need only one registration. Government is working on that. We can
Sir, I have
conclude.
one last question, if I am permitted.
Yes.
My question pertains to the ease of doing business under the GST regime, especially for the MSMEs. Now what happens is, many a times, MSMEs are not resource rich. They are crunched with resources. Where the big companies would use 20 employees here, MSME would try to do with 5 or maybe 4. Under such circumstances, the GST has a lot of compliances to be attended to. Now, apart from just the compliances, there are other issues. Say, for example, L1. Many a times, let us take a principal client who give it to a L1, and L1 always passes the work to L2. The L2 will raise a bill to L1. Say, for example, 1 CR plus 18% GST. But when the L2 has raised the bill, the L1 doesn't give him 1.18 CR. He says you take over 25 lakhs and now you start, continue the work, I'll pay you in the next month or so. Now under such circumstances, what the L2 has to do? Pay the GST first or continue the work? Because one is a capital intensive. Second, another scenario which I would like to bring up is a company is working for a certain period of time. Transactions are proper. GSTs 1, 2, 3, whatever are being complied by. After a certain number of years, the registration of the parent company has been revoked for whatever fraudulent reasons possible for other transactions that he may have done.
That has been taken care of this in amnesty scheme. So all those whose registration.
The amnesty scheme does not still cover the interest and penalty part. The GST department still levies the interest and penalty, which is at the rate of 2%, which no other trading business.
There is now an upper limit. Also, there is he will explain. Mike.
Recently, 5 notifications has been issued, effective from 1st April. In that, the provisions have been given. That and earlier, if you remember, prior to 1st April 2019, the interest was applicable on the entire delayed payment of tax. But then the government came forward with effect from 1st April 19 that they started collecting interest only on the cash element, not the this input tax credit element. Moreover, the government has also come forward that if you have got sufficient balance in the input tax credit ledger, then you will not pay interest at all.
Sir, my question still is not still answering my question. Say, for example, I'm trading with you. I I'm dealing with you from 2017, but in 2023, for some reason, your GST registration is cancelled. I am being told now that I have to pay for all those transactions submitted in the last 2-3 years or 4 years.
ये इसमें देख लेते हैं, ये जो हमारा PPT था, we'll go back. इसमें for that revocation of cancellation is there. Now you see इसमें application for revocation of cancellation of GST registration. There is a window provided for 3 months. Does it talk of interest?
First April से 30 जून तक this window is provided. जिनका भी registration cancel हो गया था किसी कारणवश, they are now given the opportunity to regain this opportunity and they can be registered.
Just one minute. I will interview. You read that. It says that conditions. You see the conditions. It says file all pending returns with taxes, late fee and interest. This was your question. As applicable up to the date of cancellation of GST registration. So what it says that आपको suo moto समझो डिपार्टमेंट ने अक्टूबर 2019 में कैंसिल कर दिया था, उसके बाद तो आप बिजनेस कर ही नहीं पाए बिकॉज यू हैड नो रजिस्ट्रेशन. तो उसके पहले तक जब तक आपका वैलिड था, उस पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम तक जो आपका इंटरेस्ट लायबिलिटी था उतना ही भरना पड़ेगा. आज आप आए हैं इस विंडो में रिवोकेशन कैंसिलेशन करने के लिए, तो वो 19 से लेके आज तक का नहीं लगेगा.
सर मेरा सवाल ये है,
उतने ही तक का लगेगा.
मेरा सवाल ये है सर, मुझे भरना ही क्यों है? मैंने अगर इनका रिवोक हुआ रजिस्ट्रेशन, मेरा नहीं, मैंने तो टैक्स भर चुका हूँ.
हाँ, वो सप्लायर वाला है. दैट क्वेश्चन इज
I
got your point.
In fact, you have got very important question. I am telling you that was the scenario earlier. Now recently, the government has come forward with the notification that in case the supplier is at fault, yani if you are the supplier, I am the recipient of the goods. Earlier, what the GST was doing, they were catching hold of the me, है ना? So now the government has resolved this issue that मेरा क्या fault है, मैं recipient हूँ, तो मेरे से क्यों वसूली जा रही है GST if that person, the supplier has not paid? That is your question, right? So now the government has come forward with the solution that we have to write to the jurisdiction authority of the supplier. ठीक है, the GST officer will not charge you, they will not give you any show cause notice. They will write to the recipient jurisdictional authority that you take care of this thing, you collect from the supplier because he is at fault, not the recipient is at fault.
But still notices are given to the recipient, sir.
नहीं, हो सकता है पहले वाला मिला होगा आपको, but now it has stopped absolutely.
Yeah, this is a very good step.
Yes.
Ease of doing business has
In
improved.
my jurisdiction, Lal Sahab knows that since I joined, I have stopped this practice. I am saying that who is the primary defaulter under the law? Because in GST Act there is section 132 which says that a person who has collected tax but not paid to the government is liable for imprisonment and all that. So why not, if the GST registration of my supplier was cancelled or he did not he collected from me but did not pay to the government, so first he is the primary defaulter, so government should recover from him only when all the legislative option or remedial option has been exhausted at the end of my supplier. Then only the department can come to me and say that your credit which you have availed, you have to reverse that credit. So I have been consistent on this stand. Now slowly and slowly this realization has been dawning upon the officers in the field that for any mistake on the part of the supplier, the government should go back to the supplier jurisdictional commissioner and they will recover from him, not penalize me.
Now, sir,
In that, it was for many years, there is a return called 2A. And 2A reflects my supplier's status whether he has paid or not, and 3B is my return. So if there is a mismatch between the two, department was asking to reverse credit from the recipient. So now board has come out with a circular, because there is a lot of hue and cry on this, lot of inconvenience, ease of doing business तो खाली नाम का रह गया, बल्कि ease of doing business के ठीक उल्टा हो रहा था. So now opportunity has been given that for supplies less than 5 lakhs, it's mere self-declaration by the supplier that I had paid, but due to glitches in the system or I paid late, it is not reflected in the 2A of the recipient, but I have paid. A simple declaration is enough. If the per supplier it is more than 5 lakhs, then a CA certification from his CA that payment was ultimately made to the government. It is not being reflected in at the recipient end, but it was paid. Then there is no penal action at the recipient end. So that circular has also been published. So some small steps are being taken by the government, but unfortunately, in the first place, it should not happen. There, the clarity of a legal person, legally trained mind. If a person is legally trained mind in the field, my officer, he will never raise this. I have a PPT on that, where I have used the doctrine of impossibility also. I have a supplier at Hyderabad. He has sold me some goods. Now, how I have control over him, whether he paid to the government or not. He raised me an invoice, 100 rupees and 18 rupees, 118 rupees. I paid him 100 rupees. And now in 118, in 18 rupees, he had to pay to the government treasury. In his 3B, he did not pay. How I am responsible? So, we will send you a presentation that Lal Sahib will, for the benefit of the students.
I'll send this presentation.
I think
one more thing, sir, I would like to add.
मैडम के पास ज़्यादा टाइम नहीं होगा, she has other things to attend.
इनका पूरा क्वेश्चन आंसर करने के लिए मैं एक चीज ऐड कर रहा हूँ कि गवर्नमेंट ने ऐसा प्रावधान रखा है कि अगर सप्लायर को पेमेंट नहीं मिली, फॉर एग्जांपल एमएसएमई है, तो उसके लिए इंटरेस्ट का प्रोविजन रखा है. 180 डेज के बियॉन्ड अगर पेमेंट की सप्लायर को, तो गवर्नमेंट आपसे इंटरेस्ट चार्ज कर लेगी.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for such an insightful session. I hope everyone would benefit from your guidance and wise words. I know I will. May I now request Dr. Sandhya Balakrishnan Madam to deliver the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Harsha. I think I should do a crash landing now because it is too late. It is my pride privilege to propose vote of thanks on behalf of HSNC Board's Kishinchand Chellaram Law College. I extend my heartiest thanks to Shri Radhesham Sharma sir for his valuable inputs on GST. Sir, there are two things that we fear in March. One is heat and the other is tax, whether it is direct or indirect. But your presentation has made us little understand about the technical aspect of GST. I know that you have a very wide subject it is, but in a short span of time, sir, you have tried to make us understand the technicalities. Also, from some of the slides, I could understand that there are lots of undertaking that is done by the government for facilitating the people, especially with the women and vulnerable section, and how this MSME can be used. So thank you so much for your valuable inputs. I also thank all our teaching staff. I'm not specifying anyone's name, Dr. Kiran ma'am, Purnima ma'am, Sarita, Purva ma'am, Brinda ma'am, Meghna, and also Lal Achra, a student of LLM, for taking all this pain and to arrange this program even though of its busy schedule. Last but not the least, I would thank Dr. Kavita ma'am for her valuable guidance and support for for organizing this workshop in a very short period of time. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you each and every student who had been patiently waiting for this session. Thank you so much. Hope that we will get lots of cases after the session is over. Sir has given us a lot of inputs as to what are the loopholes in GST. Thank